Eastern Conference Finals. They eliminate the Cavs 113-98 in Game 5. That is a 4-1. I can do that math. Series win. NFL schedules were released today, and everybody is upset. More on that in a bit. Also beginning right now, from Valhalla in Louisville, Kentucky, the PGA Championship is underway. We will have PGA Pro Dave Coleman's going to be joining us to break down the 4-day tournament going on in Louisville. We have got a dynamite show lined up, if I do say so myself. And we start right now, 620 Rip City Radio. And a very happy Thursday. It is RCM. I am your host, Justin Myers. Super producer Brenden, safely partitioned on the other side of the glass. Thanks for getting up early with us or staying up late. However you are rolling on this particular Thursday. A lot of stuff to dive into on the big show today. As I mentioned in the update, PGA Championship currently underway. We'll be talking to Dave Coleman coming up in hour number 3. Is it finally Rory's time to get back on the major train after a 10-year absence? Is Scottie Scheffler unbeatable? Can Brooks or one of the live guys climb to the top of the leaderboard? And whatever happened to Michael Block? Boy, was there ever a guy who fumbled a bag more than Michael Block? And you might be saying, Justin, that sounds a smidge familiar. Who is Michael Block? Well, you remember a year ago at the PGA Championship, there was this amazing story of PGA Pro, but Club Pro, not Touring Pro, Michael Block, who through a series of tournaments got qualified and essentially got a courtesy invite, right? Every tournament's kind of has their own unique, and if you are a golf person and I am butchering this, I apologize, but from a very elementary standpoint, other than the Masters, which is an invite only, and even the Masters has their own unique spin, right? Every tournament has their own unique spin of how do you fill out the field? You obviously have the greatest golfers in the world. You have the rest of touring pros, but then the Masters. If you have ever won the Masters, you are always invited back. The PGA Championship. If you are a PGA Tour card holder, they hold off a handful of spots for club pros. The U.S. Open, there is a series of regional and sectional qualifiers. Anybody could, if you have an unbelievable run of days, qualify for the U.S. Open. You don't have to be a pro. It is an open tournament. You just have to win the sectional, win a regional, or I might have that backwards. And then the British Open has their own unique way of qualifying guys at the bottom. So Michael Block, a year ago, won a qualifying tournament, got invited to the PGA Championship, and usually it is, hey, thanks for being a member of the PGA. Thanks for continuing to work as a club pro. Come play Thursday, Friday, miss the cut, get some swag, go back, have a good story to tell. That's usually what happens. Every once in a while, a guy will make the cut, and you'll be like, whoa, this guy. Last year, Michael Block got on a heater. He got on a heater. Not only did he make the cut, he was sitting in the top 10. Not only sitting in the top 10, he's making a run potentially at the top 5. He gets paired up with Rory McIlroy in the final round. Makes a hole-in-one in this tournament. And I believe finishes 9th last year. And, of course, we all get obsessed, and I am as well. We all get obsessed with, think about how much money. This is a guy that makes, probably a couple $100,000 as a club pro. and plays in some tournaments here or there. But man, he just made like $800,000 in a weekend. But more importantly, I remember sitting here, Brenden, talking to you a year ago, going like, "This is a Disney movie. This is it. This is a Disney movie." Because remember, after that, he got invited to another PGA Tour event. He's crying. So you might be thinking, boy, what happened to Michael Block? Well, Michael Block, 2 weeks later, went on a podcast and said, basically, I'm as good as everybody else. And everybody else said, all right, that was your 15 minutes of fame. Actually, it's about 12 minutes of fame. You can exit stage left. We don't like this cocky, I could play with anybody else. I just needed my shot. We kind of like the guy crying, humble, out of nowhere guy. And I think he's playing this weekend, but we haven't heard anything with that guy. Brenden, how bad did this guy fumble the bag?
Badly.
Just had everything. You had a question earlier.
It was kind of just about the Masters, but we'll maybe circle back to it later.
Gotcha. So yeah, out of nowhere last year, Michael Block was the story of the tournament. Story of the tournament. He's playing with the pros. He's playing with guys that, you could only dream of playing with. Hits a hole-in-one in a major. All he had to do was just be like, man, this is crazy. Is this a dream? Pinch me. Holy cow. Hey, Disney or Netflix or like the fact that he wasn't even on the full swing, like showed a lot of what the golf world thought of when he came in and was like, yeah, I mean, basically the only reason that keeps me from being top 10 in the world is I just can't hit it as far as Rory, but everything else I do. And then he went to the next week's tournament, got bounced very, very fast. And everybody was like, okay, that was a cute story. Moving on, moving forward. All right. Other things we're going to dive into on the big show today. It's clear to me. It is clear to me and everybody else that right now in the NBA playoffs, Jokic is the best player in the league, and he's the best player in the world. He's got 3 MVPs to prove it. We talked about it yesterday. If there was no restrictions, if anybody could be bought, you want to win a championship, you redraft the league. You redraft the league, and you want to win a championship. Not sell a bunch of tickets, but you want to win a championship. You redraft the league. Luka's going number 1. Jokic is going number 1. Screwed up my European guys. Who would be the number 2 pick? Because I'm looking at this field now, and obviously what Luka did last night, Brenden, he looked like he might be the second best player in the world. The way Luka played last night, the way he's played a handful of times. We've also seen the game before, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander looked like he was the second best player.
Notice how neither one of them are true-born Americans.
Yeah, SGA is a Canadian.
Just got to throw that out there.
He is a Canadian. But then you got Anthony Edwards. You go back to
His star's falling in a week. Oh
game
my goodness.
2. Game 2.
Yeah.
Game 2 of that series, like Anthony Edwards, not only is he the best American player, he might be the face of the league, but there was a point where he's like, is he going to take down Jokic? Is he the best? Is he the best player in the league? And then, ho-hum, the Boston Celtics keep winning. Other than in game 2s, they haven't really been pushed and pressed. And Jason Tatum's just sitting there like, guys, what more do I have to do? Seriously, anybody? Jalen Brunson. And I think I go back to what we have talked about with certain football players. Brenden, if Jalen Brunson was drafted 4th overall out of Villanova and doing what he's doing, even though he was traded from the Mavs to the Knicks, I don't know if it would.
He just signed. He wasn't traded.
Oh, excuse me. He left the Mavs. I always think he got traded.
No, his dad was
the Mavs. The Mavs were just like, no, we're good.
He was never going to resign because his dad was an assistant coach on Thibodeau's staff. Rick Brunson is an assistant coach.
Boom.
So that was going to happen no matter what.
Jalen Brunson, I believe, has got 40 games now with 40 points or more.
40?
Or no, 4 games with 40 points or more.
Woo, man.
No, yeah, if he went 40 games in a row.
I'm like, no, I mean,
so I think we would have heard
yeah.
about this. No, I think four games where he said 40 points or more. And what he did in Game 5 with a hobbled New York. But that guy, if he's the number 4 overall pick, we would be singing a different tune. But we do get, and I'm guilty of it as well. How long did it take us to finally recognize that Jokic was the best player in the league? A long time.
Probably after the first MVP at least.
Yeah, but even then it was like, he's a stat rat. He's stat padding. This is an MVP for the nerds. I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah,
I said all those things.
Pull everything.
There was a lot of people that said that, not just me, but there was a lot of people that said Jokic just pads his stats.
You were out on him forever. I remember when we were sitting here, and
because he would have all these triple doubles, go to the playoffs, and then lose.
You were so hot when he won his first MVP when they were the 4 seed, and you said, "Well, if you're MVP, why are you 4 seed?"
Because
you were so hot.
And
I remember
here's why,
it so
though.
well.
Because I had to sit and listen for years and years and years that Damian Lillard couldn't be an MVP because the Blazers were never going to be a number 1 or a number 2 seed. And it was like, well, that guy can do it?
I mean, you're not wrong.
So that's why I was very hot about that.
We like big men more than guards, clearly.
Well, and then there's the whole nerdy. But there was a good chunk of people, myself included, who was like, this is a nerd award now, right? All the analytics nerds are just, he goes to the playoffs, and then he finally got over the hump and won, and that's where meatheads like me are like, all right, I'll give him his flowers. He's got a ring. But if Jalen Brunson was a number 4 overall pick, I don't know how much we'd be talking about as Anthony Edwards, the best American player. Anthony Edwards gets that bump because he was the number 1 pick overall, and he plays a more aesthetically pleasing brand of basketball. But if Jalen Brunson was a number 4 overall pick, I think he would be a much, much bigger star, even though he's scoring 40 points in the Garden for the New York Knicks. So we may dive into that later on in the show. If Jokic is the best player in the world, left in the playoffs right now, who's the second best guy in NBA right now, still playing? Because you've got Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka, Anthony Edwards, Tatum, Brunson, Halliburton. Am I missing anybody? Donovan Mitchell has just been eliminated and he's been hurt.
For me, it'd be Shea or Jason Tatum. I'd lean Tatum because he's got a little bit more.
But look at what Luka did last night.
Yeah.
So that's going to be coming up a little bit later on in the big show. But schedule's released. We've got funny release videos. Every fan is upset. They think the NFL is out to screw them. And a lesson that we never learn with regard to the NFL schedule. That's next on 620 Rip City Radio. I promise you I'm not distracted. I promise you I am not just watching Tiger Woods make a birdie right now in the PGA Championship. I promise you I do not have it on a second screen here in the studio.
YouTube sees all, Justin.
I know. What's up, YouTube? You know, we're going to do a whole thing here, and I've done this before. Lessons we never learn, right? Lessons we never learn in sports. I'm going to do one coming up here with regard to the NFL schedule. But if I could call myself out, Brenden, lessons I will never learn. I still believe Tiger Woods can win every tournament he plays.
Let me ask you this real quick.
I still believe it. I did this whole speech during the Masters. I know I did this a month ago, and I'm going to do it probably at the U.S. Open if Tiger makes it to the U.S. Open, because you never quite know with the back and the leg and everything else. But it is a brain thing that I cannot shake. I cannot shake it because I look at Tiger Woods, and yeah, he's got a goatee now. And yeah, he's a little softer around the midsection, but that swing still looks the same.
So let me ask you
Still
this.
looks the same, and I'm just like, how could he ever lose?
You mentioned to me between the break, Justin, that you did not place any bets on Tiger Woods specifically.
I didn't.
How would you feel if he not won, because I think that's way too big of an ask, but let's just say he finishes top 10.
He goes Michael Block, and he goes, by the way, shout out to Laker hater. Michael Block currently 4-0 over, letting us know on Twitter. Tip of the cap. Appreciate you and everyone else listening. So if he goes like Michael Block, finishes like top 10.
Yeah, like, and
I would feel
I have
great.
no idea, but will you have like a moment?
No, I love Tiger so much that the betting part of it, I don't care. I would.
But, oh my gosh,
if it knocked like, so I got a bet on Scotty Scheffler going top 5. Nobody cares about my bets. I know that. Nobody cares about your bets either. But, like, I got a bet on Scotty Scheffler going top 5.
Sure.
If Tiger Woods were to knock Scotty Scheffler out of the top 5 and him, I'd feel so good.
Well,
I'd be like, that fine. Burn that money. Don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care. Keep building your empire, DraftKings.
Well, and you gotta.
Okay, I can't.
So much.
I just can't quit you.
Yeah. So much of it is luck, and we may talk about this a bit later in the show too. But Justin, yesterday, with the Thunder losing, I did see a tweet that said that ticket that got cashed out for $80K yesterday would have gone down to $50 with the Thunder loss. Obviously, it goes up and down. Say the Thunder come back and win, but not looking too bad to cash that out today, Justin.
It was a perfect time to cash that out. But, yeah, lesson I never learned. I still think Tiger Woods can win. Yeah, he's not the same.
He'll probably win another major before he's done.
I don't think he will.
If not,
I don't think he will, Brenden. I like it's head and heart.
You never know. I mean,
it's my sports head and heart, right? My head, and you dropped Phil Mickelson there. Here's the difference. You know what Phil Mickelson doesn't
have bionic legs.
Yeah, and he doesn't have 3 back surgeries.
Well,
yeah,
modern medicine, Justin.
I hope so.
I'm like, no, but it's it's definitely
I can't quit him. I can't.
I understand.
I can't move on.
It's kind of like a uniform is magic, even though now it's a gross Tiger logo instead of an awesome swoosh. More on that later too.
It very much is like that. Like in college football, or what's a better example? Well, college football, like Clemson. I know that Dabo hasn't embraced the transfer portal, and I don't know how much he's embraced NIL. And I know that Clemson is not likely to be a top 10 team, and I think they might make the 12-team playoff. But, Brenden, I still look at that Clemson, and I still see 2017. You know what I mean? Like, I still see that Clemson team of 2017 and go like, they're still, even though I know, like, Miami is not the U that it used to be, you see that logo and you see those white helmets and you're like, oh, watch out.
Justin, I hate to say, it's not Thrill Hill going through that tunnel anymore, man.
And it's like, I think that's kind of my
now it's just,
kind of my Tiger
now
Woods.
It's just ironically Mario Cristobal and Damian Martinez going through that hill. So, no big deal.
And Cam Ward.
Exactly.
Cam Ward. David
Folks,
Martinez, Cam Ward, Mario Cristobal are all going to be – that's your starting backfield and your head coach for the Miami Hurricanes.
all right, we need the U part 3, baby. I
No.
mean, get who was it? Was it Puff Daddy or Trick Daddy that was in the U, and they brought it back, and he was doing like the soundtrack, the whole – I think it was –
It definitely wasn't Puff Daddy.
Okay, but it was probably Trick Daddy then. But I remember that was a big deal, man, when they came back with the U part 2. They should bring it back.
Well, they also had Luke from Two Live Crew.
Maybe it was him. Maybe
Yeah,
I
he was a
thinking.
huge Miami guy.
So bring them all back, Justin, for Mario, Damian Martinez, and Cam Ward. What a joke.
That is again another
joke.
thing. Another thing your generation will never appreciate is Two Live Crew, which was the first dirty rap, and like
That was.
it was 80s, late 80s, early 90s.
But you remember the third floor crew with
Seventh
Greg
floor
Olson.
crew. That was the seventh floor crew.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Which was, I'm sure, a play off of Two Live Crew. But back in
Yeah,
the 90s or late 80s, early 90s, Two Live Crew was, and they were vulgar.
They were vulgar.
But then, like, compared to like what, because back then it wasn't done. You didn't curse. You didn't talk about sex. You didn't.
It's true.
And Two Live Crew was like, we're talking about all of it. Anyways, NFL released a schedule yesterday, and Twitter did what Twitter does, which I love. All right. Everybody's fan base instantly goes to the schedule. And what's the first thing you do as a fan whenever the schedule gets released? I don't know about you guys, but the first thing I do is I take a look at, like, are there any games that I'm going to be able to attend? Look at the Steelers schedule. Steelers are in Las Vegas. Hey, Ohio State's in Eugene that weekend. So not going to that game. And so then I take a look at the schedule. Like, yeah, there's going to be no games I can attend. So after that, I think the next thing almost everybody does once you get the schedule of your favorite team is you start going, that's a win, that's a win, that's a loss, that's a loss, that's a win. And as a fan, you should be doing that. What do you think? You think 11-6? You think 11-6 is possible? Could we get to, I don't know, 12-5? Is 12-5? I think so. And then after that, everybody then goes to the internet and starts complaining that the NFL has screwed their team over. This is what I want to talk about right now because, once again, it is why the NFL is the best. This is why the NFL destroys every other league in professional sports and why the NFL is the best, is because somehow, some way, they have gotten all of you, including myself, delusional about looking forward to the next season. Because I heard a lot of Steeler fans on my timeline complaining about Pittsburgh's schedule. Because Pittsburgh, in the back end of the season, Brenden, on November 17th, the Pittsburgh Steelers play the Baltimore Ravens. A week later, they play at Cleveland. After that, they play at Cincinnati. Then they play Cleveland at home. Then they go to Philadelphia. Then they go to Baltimore. Then they get the Chiefs at home on Christmas Day. And then they end the season, week 17, with the Bengals. On paper, holy cow, who in the NFL office hates the Steelers, right? Think about that run. Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. Those are your last 8 weeks for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I, like many Steelers fans, was up in arms. And then I remembered what we do every single year. This is the lesson I'm talking about that we need to learn every single year. We don't know who's going to be good. And we don't know who's going to be mediocre. And we don't know who's going to be bad, especially come November, December, and that last week in January. Case in point, you look back to last year. How many teams, including my own team, looked at the schedule and said, Houston Texans. Boom. That's a win. Little did you know that C.J. Stroud was going to not only win Rookie of the Year, was going to destroy, I think, rookie quarterback records and get his team not only to a winning record, but get his team to the postseason. Didn't have that on your bingo card, did you?
No, or the people who were like, oh, the Chargers, that'll be a tough game late
Boom.
in the year.
Oh, their schedule. We got to go to the Chargers.
Easton Stick.
Boom.
Don't leave it at that. Easton
Exactly
Stick
right.
and a head out the door Brandon Staley, man. And the Chargers were expected to be really good. Well, I don't know, really good, but at least playoff bound, Justin. So, like you said, it goes both ways.
How many teams had some concerns because Aaron Rodgers became a New York Jet, only to have 4 episodes or 4 plays in episodes, like it's
4 episodes. Like it's a Netflix special.
like it was a Netflix show. Yeah. Only to 4 I did it again. 4 plays into the season to have his Achilles get popped, and now he's done for the year. This is why the NFL is the best. You could, at the beginning of this year, and who knows, maybe the Chiefs are there again next year. Probably will be. Maybe the 49ers are there at the top of the league again in the NFC. Maybe, possibly will be. But who had the Texans being good last year? Who had the Lions basically choking away a game against the 49ers? Like, we knew the Lions were getting better, but did you have the Lions being one of the best teams in the NFL last year? Didn't the Colts make the playoffs with Gardner Minshew? Right? I thought the Colts made the playoffs, or was it? Didn't they make that final wild card against the Texans? Either way, I know that the Colts won more games than anybody.
No, they were 10th. They didn't make the playoffs.
Okay. Well, Gardner Minshew won more games.
They went 9-8. They were close.
And had a winning record.
The Steelers got it over them.
Steelers are gonna have a tough season. It's gonna be a tough season.
Better or worse than 10-7? Or about the same?
The fact that you have had horrendous quarterback play really since Ben Roethlisberger popped his elbow
2018?
5 years ago, and you've still managed to have a winning record after winning record after winning record, and now you get the final experiment of Russell Wilson's career, right? If anybody can pull it out with Russell Wilson, it's going to be Mike Tomlin, right? Because Mike Tomlin is not going to publicly shame his quarterback and throw him under the bus. Now, will Russell Wilson receive said coaching? We'll find out. Or maybe Russ is cooked, like I've been saying. I don't know. But
every now and again,
quarterback play is going to be upgraded.
Oh, totally. But every now and again, though, Justin, like, to that point, you're totally right about it. But yet, I feel like sometimes you can know when teams are, like, going into last season, did we not all think the Patriots and Mac Jones would probably be terrible, and they kind of fit that shoe throughout the year?
Sure.
Or,
but how many times
like the
did people probably say, yeah, but did you expect them to be, like, atrociously bad? Like, that's still Bill Belichick over there.
Sure. Okay,
right?
So maybe the Cardinals. We knew Kyler Murray wasn't going to play until the end of the year with the torn ACL, and it would be a really rough start to the year. Was it, and they go forward. Now, but to your point, Justin, did anyone think, Bryce Young is going to be the worst quarterback in football? No. And like you mentioned the Texans, that could have been vice versa. Like, it could have been the Panthers that won a lot of games, but they didn't, right? So you're right. It's completely, with the exception of maybe the ever so occasional, like, that team's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
You don't know.
And so that's why, again, we never learned this lesson. And it's why I think the NFL kind of wants to keep it that way, is because you get all up in arms about the schedule, but yet any single team coming into, I think a great example last year, if you had Tampa Bay on your schedule, post Tom Brady, Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, Tampa Bay, they're on your schedule. That's a win, right? Nah. 9-8, won the division, made the playoffs. Like I said, the Detroit Lions. How about Green Bay Packers last year? The Green Bay Packers, they're without Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love? Come on. You kidding me? Jordan, like, that guy's been riding the bench for 3 years. Yeah. Packers went 9-8. Tough out.
They made the play. Second round?
Pretty tough out. So, Cincinnati Bengals finished 9-8, but without Joe Burrow, that's not the Cincinnati Bengals. Like you mentioned, Brenden, who would have had the Chargers being like Easton Stick? Was that his name?
In the words of Paul Rudd, not us. Nobody.
Yeah.
No one would have expected this. But yes, Easton Stick was his name.
So I understand why, because it's fun in May to look at the schedule, and even myself as a Steeler fan looks at the schedule and is like, they are trying. But, yeah, do the Steelers have an absolute gauntlet down in the second half of their schedule? Sure. But Lamar Jackson gets hurt. Can you trust Deshaun Watson as quarterback? We don't even know if he's going to be any good. If he is healthy, we don't even know if he's going to be any good.
I've been on that train, Justin. I think I'm ready to jump off.
Philadelphia Eagles were 11-6 last year, but they're going to be without 2 starting offensive linemen. Can you now trust? Can you run the brotherly shove, the tush push? Can you run that without Jason Kelce as a starting center? Like, do they have like 20% of their offense just retire and walk out the door because he's doing podcasts now? Who knows? Like, this is why the NFL is the best. It is. This is why the NFL is the best, is because nobody had the Texans coming along the way that they did. Nobody had the Packers coming along the way that they did. Maybe you had an inclination on the Detroit Lions. Nobody knew one injury was going to put the Chargers and the Bengals in last place in their division. The New York Giants the year before not only had a winning record, not only made the playoffs, but remember, they went into Minnesota, the New York Giants did, and won a playoff game with Danny Dimes, seemingly figuring things out. They got their guy in Dayball. They're 6-11 last year. You went into last year's schedule, you saw the Giants on the schedule, you're like, they won a playoff game. Every year this happens, and every year we'd never learn our lesson. They have got the third toughest schedule right now on paper with last year's results. And if we learned anything, we have learned, A, new contract, which means you can't pay particular guys, right? You lose out on certain players. What are the Minnesota Vikings going to be next year? What are the Atlanta Falcons going to be next year? Think about all these teams that are – I put the Steelers in there as well. Like, there are so many wild cards. Could Kirk Cousins – get it figured out in Atlanta? Could the Minnesota Vikings? Probably not, but you never know. And, could Russell Wilson have a bounce-back season? What's going to happen with the health of Justin Herbert? He's got Jim Harbaugh as his head coach. Are those two going to mesh? There's so many variables going in the NFL season, which is why I love it. But it also is the lesson. It's the lesson that we never learn. Oh, boy, 4th toughest schedule in all of the NFC. It's like, right now, one injury, one bad week, all of a sudden, fortunes can change. All right, coming up next, we have one team that has now moved on to the conference finals. The Boston Celtics are heading to the conference finals. Still more spots up in the air to be determined. We got some more basketball coming up tonight as well. So we've got Round Ball Rock coming up to wrap up hour number 1. But before we get to that, I do want to tell you about Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath renovation experts. Of course, I'm talking to you about DeBella. I talk to you about DeBella often. Why? Because if you've been thinking about updating your home, now is the perfect time to make that happen. They do phenomenal work, 15,000 5-star reviews on Google, award-winning customer service, top marks from Angie's List, Home Advisor, and as you plan your summertime spending and try to save some money, well, you could potentially pay for a new roof with savings and federal and state incentives. That's right. Just go with solar. Contact DeBella for all the details about updating your roof with solar shingles. Plus, contacting DeBella is super easy. Their estimates are always free, no obligation, and scheduled on a time that works for you. They'll come to you. So now is the perfect time to upgrade your roofing, your siding, your windows, your bath renovations, and with DeBella's incredible financing of no payments until 2025 on approved credit, you can start saving today. All right, early in Valhalla, Victor Hovland leads the tournament at 3 under, but a lot of big names sitting in second place at 2 under very early, but Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, Matsuyama, and Xander Schauffele all sitting at 2 under. And if you notice more pauses than normal in the show today, it's because Tiger Woods might be putting for birdie or something. And I try to be a good multitasker, but my wife will attest I am terrible. I'm a terrible multitasker. So I'll just admit it to all of you. When Tiger's making a big putt, I might be a bit distracted this morning. But neither here nor there. We're going to talk some more golf coming up in hour number 3. But there were basketball games played last night. There was an elimination that happened. And what's going on in the NBA? Just as Jerry Seinfeld said, what's the deal? Or do you remember Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh? This was when they were both at USC and at Stanford. And Pete Carroll went to Jim Harbaugh and was like, what's your deal? Like, what's your deal? And I feel like that with the NBA right now. Like, what's your deal? We're going to talk about that. But to do that, we need some Tesh. Here we go. All right. So the Boston Celtics move on. Winners get sprinkles on this show. Boston Celtics move on. Other than another Game 2 hiccup, they are a wagon. And I'm sure they're sitting there going like, please get to Game 7 between New York and Indianapolis. But the Celtics are now moving on, and they will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Oklahoma City Thunder were pushed to the brink of elimination. Luka looks like he's on a mission as they steal a game, and the Mavericks can now close it out in Dallas. And speaking of closing out games, the Minnesota Timberwolves playing for their playoff lives as they look to get back on track, as they've lost 3 in a row since hopping up 2 games to none. Now, that being said, we got to play what's the deal. Help me understand this. So I saw this headline this morning. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who, by the way, played the Boston Celtics fairly close in these last 2 games without Donovan Mitchell on the roster. Without Donovan Mitchell on the available. He's been hurt for the last 2 games. Who else was? They also had another guy hurt yesterday.
Yeah, I can't think of a name off the top of my head.
Regardless, the Cleveland Cavaliers came out, showed some grit, showed some fight without their best player. And then all of a sudden I wake up this morning and I open up my phone and I see
Jared Allen and LeVert didn't play either.
Boom! LeVert was the guy I was thinking of, but Jared Allen didn't play either. I see this headline. Bickerstaff future, a question for the Cavs. Help me make sense of this. So let's do a little Cavs history lesson real quick. 2015, they won the NBA Finals with LeBron James. 2015 was also the year that in the middle of the season, they said, David Blatt, you need to leave. LeBron James made that.
LeBron likes to do that.
LeBron does like to do that. Middle of the season. This one actually turned out to work because Ty Lue took over, went 27-14. They won the NBA Finals. The next 2 years, they went 51-30. They went 50-32. Went to the NBA Finals. 2018, J.R. Smith forgets the score. In Game 1, we have the famous meme of LeBron going like, what are you doing? And after that, LeBron says, I shall take my life and my basketball to Los Angeles. And Cleveland said, you know what? Not really mad at you. You took us to 4 straight finals. You gave us a parade we never expected. Maybe we would get a parade, especially when you left us back in 2010. So, LeBron, thanks for the memories. It was a fun ride. We shall now go and rebuild. Ty Lue, after going 0-6 to start the 2019 season, was fired. Interim coach was named. Don't even remember who he was. Then they made the horrific decision to go to college and hire John Beilein, who I believe was at Michigan at the time. And John Beilein came in, and word out of Cleveland was, this guy's doing a lot of college stuff. we're pros. He's showing us motivational movies before like regular season NBA games. It's like, dude, you know we got 82 of these. So Beeline goes 14-40, and he is and that's a COVID year. And I think before the bubble is exited out, JB Bickerstaff takes over as an interim head coach, and he goes 5-6. COVID happens. Season gets shut down. Everybody in Cleveland goes home. Next year, they come back. They are 22-50. One of the worst teams in the NBA that year. And JB Bickerstaff was, again, he was an interim guy. Remember, it was still COVID. It was still weird times. It was the shortened schedule. That was just 72 games. Fans in the stands, fans not. Certain guys are available. Certain guys aren't. Teams would get COVID for a week. You wouldn't. Weird season. So now the Cavs have now gone 19-63, 19-46, 22-50. JB Bickerstaff then takes them in 21-22 to 44-38. Don't make the postseason, but are a winning. They win 44 games in 22. By the way, that's without Donovan Mitchell. That's with Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton and Jared Allen, an aging Kevin Love, right? But that's pretty good. Going from 22 wins to 44. Yeah, that's double. I can do that math. Then they make a move. They get Donovan Mitchell. They go 51-30. So he's gone from 22 wins to 44 wins to 51 wins. They lose in the Eastern Conference Finals first round, but still things are looking up. Then they go 48-34 this year. Win their first round matchup against Orlando. You have to go up against number one seed Boston Celtics without 2 games without Donovan Mitchell, and then this final game without LeVert, without Jared Allen, and they lose to the Boston. How is this man's job in jeopardy? Explain to me what JB Bickerstaff is supposed to be doing. Is he supposed to be sitting there guarding Donovan Mitchell's calf so that it doesn't sprain? Because Donovan Mitchell is healthy. This is a series. I don't know if they win, but it's a series. Help me make sense of this.
There is no make sense of it.
What is going on in this league? This is a problem.
This is, again, Justin, I have no proof, but this is just my theory. What did I tell you about Matt Ishbia earlier? I said, Matt Ishbia feels like he can, the world is his oyster because his finances are tied in home mortgages, Justin. What are home mortgage rates right now? Who's the owner of the Cavs? Dan Gilbert.
But Dan Gilbert has...
So Dan Gilbert...
He's shown that he's been a bit, how do we say, impulsive, right? Didn't Dan Gilbert write the handwritten letter to LeBron when he left in 2010 saying, like, you will never come back? And then he came back. But, like, I don't know.
So I think...
I don't understand this. This is
so
so
I think
ridiculous.
This is knowing that you have money to burn, seeing someone like Matt Ishbia firing Frank Vogel after 1 year.
Frank Vogel underperformed. This guy, Bickerstaff, is doing exactly what you want him to do. NBA. All right, more on this coming up later. More golf stuff, more NFL stuff. Locked and loaded for hour 2 coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA playoffs last night continued on. Luka Doncic drops a triple-double and pushes Oklahoma City to the brink of elimination after they steal Game 5 in Oklahoma City, 104-92. Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics move on to the Eastern Conference Finals as they take down the Cavs, 113-98. No Donovan Mitchell or LeVert for Cleveland, but yet somehow it's J.B. Bickerstaff's fault. NFL schedules were released yesterday. The season will open up on Thursday night with the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Baltimore Ravens. And everybody in the NFL is upset and thinks the NFL is out to get them. And the PGA Championship currently underway from Valhalla in Louisville. Speaking of the PGA Championship, we will have PGA Pro David Coleman's going to be joining us in hour number 3 to talk some golf. But hour 2 of Rip City Morning starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Update, Jordan Spieth, Xander Schauffele, Victor Hovland, all tied for the lead early in the PGA Championship at 3 under. Matsuyama and Rory McIlroy right a stroke behind them at 2 under. So Tiger just made bogey. If I feel, and I've said this a handful of times on the show already, if you feel like I'm a bit distracted, Tiger Woods is playing, and I will attempt to try to be focused, lasered in, and locked in. Coming up, we've got Make or Miss. We've got some, speaking of golf, stuff we saw on the internet, as we have an update. We have an update to a Masters story that we talked about a handful of weeks ago, so very excited about that. Very excited. We've never had Dave Coleman on the show before. Very excited to talk some golf with him, get his thoughts on what is currently going on at the PGA Championship, and just kind of overall the state of golf in general. You know, the sun shines, Brenden, and the month of March and June comes around, and man, it's just so much more exciting to talk about golf when you know, like, there's a potential you could dust off the old clubs and maybe play around this weekend. So, talk to Dave Coleman coming up in hour number 3. You heard, I don't know if everybody heard it, but we have these the national Fox Sports updates on the show before I come in and give my brilliant local updates. But it was announced yesterday. Doug Gottlieb, who is on in middays here, so from noon to 3, before the boys on Rip City Drive take over, and most of you who are loyal listeners to the station, we appreciate it, and we love all of you, know that Doug Gottlieb is on from noon to 3. And then it was announced that Doug Gottlieb is going to be the head basketball coach of Wisconsin Green Bay. Is it still Wisconsin Green Bay, or is it just Green Bay University
Just
now?
Green Bay now.
All right, well, it used to be Wisconsin Green Bay. They are also known as the Phoenix, which gets very confusing because I know the Phoenix is the bird that rises from the ashes, but Phoenix is also the warmest place, and you're in Green Bay, which is the coldest place. Terry Porter, Wisconsin Green Bay?
All right.
Terry Porter, I think, was Wisconsin Green Bay? Or he might have been Wisconsin Stevens Point. I'm pretty sure.
Stevens Point, my God.
Boom.
I would have never known. I had no idea where Terry Porter went to college, to be honest. That I learned that
Well,
today.
here's the reason why I know that is because Dick Bennett, the father of Tony Bennett, the basketball coach, not the singer who sings with Lady Gaga,
his son's really,
the
really good.
coach of Virginia, Dick Bennett was one of the most innovative defensive coaches.
He was also at Washington State, right?
He was also at Washington State,
Yeah.
and previous to that, I believe he was at Wisconsin, and I believe before that, he was at Wisconsin Green Bay, and before that, he was at Wisconsin Stevens Point. And when I was playing basketball in the 90s, our coach, Coach Fisher, RIP, Coach Fisher, we miss you, Coach, he would play us defensive drills videos from Dick Bennett from Wisconsin Stevens Point, and we'd learn about closeouts and denials and everything else. So,
Just they're the Wisconsin Stevens Point Pointers. I kind of like that. I kind of like that, dude. The pointers, just like a pointer dog. That's kind of cool, man.
Boom.
I like that. That's really cool.
So Doug Gottlieb's going to be coaching, still Wisconsin Green Bay to me. The Green Bay Phoenix in, what are they? Is that the Horizon League? I think if it's a Horizon League, I might walk off if I knew that. Anyways.
Yes.
The Horizon League.
Why that took me so long to find, but yes, the Green Bay Phoenix.
But he's going to continue his radio show. Now, I realize that not every radio show is made equal, and I know the way that I do my radio show is probably very, very, very different than the way Doug Gottlieb would be able to do his radio show. But I find it fascinating that you are going to have a major they're Division I, right? It's a Horizon League. It's not like he's going to the Big Ten, but they're the Horizon League. They're Division I. It's a Division I men's basketball coach, a team that could become a mid-major, that could become a Cinderella, could go to the tournament. We've seen it before.
I have thoughts.
And he's going to be coaching for the first time ever. Now, Doug Gottlieb, very successful college basketball player, I think led the nation in assists. And obviously has been a voice, not only in college basketball, but just in sports over the last 15, 20 years. And now he's going to be going and coaching a Division I basketball team and also continuing his radio show.
So my thought on this, Justin,
there's no way this is going to work, right?
He's going to set it up like Pat McAfee, have a part of, like, I think of, like, Oregon State's, like, they have a practice facility there. He's going to set up in, like, an upper area, have the radio show.
So he's going to have, like, at the facility.
Yes, like just
his
above
office
the court.
is going to have a radio studio.
I think so, and then he'll be like...
Awesome. That actually sounds kind of awesome.
He'll look out the glass window and see the court, and it'll be legitimately like Ralph Miller. If Doug Gottlieb gets up from his radio show and walks down to the court, you know it's business. Otherwise, he's just going to be able to look at you, have the headset on, and be like, take the headset off between breaks. All right, guys, let's get the three-man weave drill going.
Dude, three-man weave was a drill.
It was fun.
Three-man weave was a drill, let me tell you.
That was fun, man.
And we do the five-man weave. That one's even tough.
Yeah, we never did five-man weave, but three-man weave.
5-on-3, 3-on-2, 2-on-1. Those are fantastic. I love basketball drills. Layup lines are the best.
Yep.
The absolute best.
But that's my thought on how this could work. But ultimately, Justin, I think I'm not going to put limits on anybody and say they can't do anything because I hate that. But I don't see this working out long term. When you think about what, let's just look at you and I in a vacuum. Our radio show might be 3 hours. You know, we put in so much more on the front end and the back end to make that radio show happen. When you're taking out 5-6 hours of your day, Justin, I don't think you can be an effective D1 basketball coach without burning it at both ends.
Well, it's gonna be interesting because
maybe I'm wrong. That's what I said. I leave the door open if he's great.
Take you behind the curtains a little bit, right? At a national level, for a radio host, not to say that there isn't talent, not that there isn't ability, because you have to be engaging and you have to be present and all of that stuff. But those guys at that level can truly walk in 15 minutes before the show, handed a sheet, and here you go. Like it. But I'm wondering more about the basketball part of this now, because I want to be fair. Now, I realize that Green Bay of the Horizon League is not Colorado of the now Big 12. Would we be crushing Deion if he was doing this? If Deion Sanders, because Deion Sanders did have a podcast on Barstool and then ultimately gave that up when he went to go coach. Now, maybe football is different than basketball, but if Deion Sanders was like, yeah, I'm going to keep doing TV. I'm going to stay on the NFL Network. We kind of be crushing him for this. So this is where I think it's a bit of a gamble. But this is the thought that I had. Let's spin this to a fun part, because nobody cares about Green Bay Phoenix basketball here. Maybe you care about the midday show on this particular station. I do, because I like our numbers to stay good enough to keep doing what we're doing. Is there a Division I football or basketball coach? If you could pick, Brenden, one football or basketball coach in Division I, say you get 3-hour radio show every day. I want to hear your radio show every single day. I want to hear what you think I know who I would pick. I think I'm going Mike Gundy. I want to.
Oh, you said college football. I thought you said basketball.
Any.
Oh yeah.
Any. If I could pick a Division I coach at any sport, where it's like I get 3 hours of this guy, unfiltered, not unfiltered, but
Head coach.
but talking about not just because these guys, right, when they do their radio show, it's just like when Nick Saban would do his weekly radio show, he's just talking about his program, right? You got to talk about everybody. You got to talk about I want to hear what Mike Gundy thinks about Jokic.
I think,
what does he think about Tiger Woods?
Yeah.
And what does he think about what's going on in the world and how out of bounds would he get? That's the guy I would love to hear.
I think
Mullet Mike Gundy, 3 hours every day.
Yeah, I think Dion would be a good one. I think Kenny Dillingham would bring some
Kenny Dillingham would have so many hot takes.
Yeah.
He would be so fired up. You think I get fired up sometimes? Kenny Dillingham is so, how many Red Bulls do you think he drinks? Or you think that's just natural? The Kenny Dillingham. He is so jacked up.
Yeah, he probably crushes some Red Bull. Kenny Dillingham's one that comes to mind. I'm trying to think of
anybody. That is a good one.
Anybody else? I'm not gonna lie, and this is mean-spirited, but Sark, when he had a couple drinks back in the day, probably could tell you some stuff.
Oh, but stick in that same conference, and the guy who's always going to be attached to Lane Kiffin.
Oh,
well, how did we miss Lane Kiffin?
Both those two. Both those two would be fantastic.
Could we get a Kiffin Sark, like a Mike and Mike?
Gosh, that would be awesome. Well, back when Pete was running us, that would be so much fun.
If you could get the Steve and Lane show or the Lane and Steve show, it's Lane and Steve in the afternoon.
Each got a little cup of bourbon.
And have Sarkisian and Kiffin doing a 3.
Dude, Sark and Kiffin.
Come on. If Doug Gottlieb can do it, we can get.
Dude, can you imagine the stories those two would have about USC? Hey, it'd be like, hey, you got fired?
Well, just that,
I got fired.
or the
yeah,
stories
we both got fired.
Or the stories about Saban.
I know.
Remember Lane Kiffin coached the Raiders?
Sarkisian with the Falcons for, 2 years or something like that?
Plus, that would be. Yeah, if you ever got them to do like what I do, which is you just kind of let your hair down and got to stop worrying about being all buttoned up a little bit. Be a good one.
Like those guys.
I love Dan Lanning. He would be terrible at it. I love him. I love Dan Lanning. Don't want anybody else coaching Oregon. I love Dan Lanning. He would be a terrible radio host because he wouldn't say anything. He would give no opinions.
I'll say this.
He has mastered the I can talk and not give a single opinion.
All right, tell me this, Justin. Would there be, and again, this is kind of a shot, but you know what? I think the shoe fits. Would there be a more boring radio show than one hosted by Jonathan Smith?
Yeah, it'd be like NPR.
Yeah.
It'd be
like Trent Bray, you bump up a little bit, but even still, I'm like, it's not his game. But Jonathan Smith, yeah, so, he'll be out a minute, Well, Jokic, what do you think he is? I think he's a good player. I mean,
it's good. You never know. Yeah, that'd be terrible. He would be the worst.
I think
Dan Lanning would at least be somewhat engaging and have some personality. He would say nothing.
Chip Kelly now or Chip Kelly at Oregon? Ooh,
Chip was too buttoned up. By the way, Chip Kelly. He's still catching strays, by the way, from Philadelphia Eagles. All right, coming up next, we've got Make or Miss on 620 Rip City Radio. Coming up 1 hour from now, we're going to talk to PGA Pro Dave Coleman. PGA Championship currently underway in Louisville. Xander Schauffele with a one-shot lead early on. Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy, Tony Finau, all right there in the hunt. And currently, Brooks Koepka is trying to make birdie to get himself into the top 4, but he will make par. So there you go. Don't want to go play-by-play on the tournament, but we'll talk to Dave Coleman coming up in an hour from now. We've also got some stuff we saw on the internet. Speaking of golf, we have an update on a Masters story that we talked about a month ago coming up in about 25 minutes. But before we get to all of that, it is time for Make or Miss. Here we go.
All right, firing up Make or Miss today.
Yes.
Justin, we're going to approach with a topic that a little controversial.
We're going we don't do controversy on this show.
I'll preface that
Unless
by
we get into like the, we've got real controversial yesterday with Tyson Alger, which was the crispy or, I don't know how you would describe it without sounding gross, but like non-crispy bacon.
Yeah, it's fair.
Chewy
no,
bacon. I believe it was described as chewy bacon.
Yeah, that's a good debate.
Which I'm like, I don't think it's a good debate, Brenden, because I don't want to even talk to chewy bacon people.
That's fair. This is more like someone's being a fool and need to be called out massively.
Okay.
So
Are we going to the Chiefs kicker, right?
We
do
are.
the Chiefs kicker.
So-
We're going to do the Chiefs kicker.
have fun fighting the Swifties, Harrison Butker.
Yeah. So,
Have fun. That's all I'll say. I disavow everything he said that day.
all right.
We can't repeat a lot of it.
I choose not to as well. And
But can we give the Cliff Notes version to those who haven't seen Justin?
so Harrison Buckner, who is a kicker,
A kicker.
went on to give a speech at a very Catholic university.
Very tiny.
Very small, very Catholic
Very.
university. So understand
The context.
the crowd he was speaking to.
Yes.
But, as anybody else should know, here's a camera pointed at you, and so
Famous.
So he gave a speech that a lot of people didn't like. Some people did like it. A lot of people didn't like it. Not well received in my house, I'll tell you that.
Mine either, man. I'll tell you that much.
So, if you would like to watch it, I don't even want to dive into. Now, I will defend to the death his right to say it. Say what you want. I also do not believe that having that opinion should get you kicked off of your football team. If you can make 55-yard field goals, you can make 55-yard field goals. That being said, it is not free from consequence, right? First Amendment doesn't change, doesn't take away your freedom of being free from consequences. And when you try to pepper in a Taylor Swift line into your speech, Taylor Swift, who famously breaks away from traditional norms in everything she does, and is currently dating the second best player on your team. Yeah, I hope you have those notifications turned off. It's not gonna end well, because here's the thing. Here's the thing with the Swifties, which. And I'm not an internet Swiftie, but I am one. The internet Swifties, Brenden,
Yeah.
they don't forget.
No.
And they don't stop.
No,
And
I mean,
so when because didn't he throw out in the speech that
he essentially
it was not
the broad let's just put it this way. The broad strokes of it was it was a statement that put limits on women. I'll put it that way. And I think it's disrespectful to women, especially in 2024. I think it's a very antiquated and backwards way of thinking. If you want to look up, the broad strokes of it, that's something that I would have expected in the 80s.
Which was, here's what I thought,
just
of
not
all
today.
the things that I thought was a miss on what he was trying to do.
I think I get what he was trying to get at, but still.
But yeah, as a kicker,
I don't agree.
Not very accurate.
Yeah.
Didn't land the plane, and I don't even know if I want to give him the credit of saying I think I see what he was trying to do.
It's fair.
I think he might have just
No,
anywho.
Yeah.
But the other really dumb thing that he did was to drop in like my teammate's girlfriend says, and tried to throw in a Taylor Swift line. And it's like, wait a minute. You just did this whole thing about gender norms and toxic masculinity and like, are you aware of Taylor Swift's career? Like, are you aware of like the whole time of like, yeah, you missed that one too.
Yeah,
that's a missed extra point and a missed field goal. Good luck. Good luck on the internet.
I ended up watching it again, and it just
I watched 30 seconds of it, and I was like, all right, I'm out. I don't. Also, can I tell you something else real quick? Because we don't do this on this show. I grew up in a very rural area. I live in a city area. I have friends from all spectrums of the political and lifestyle everywhere, right? And I love all of them. I don't want to hear a kicker, which is the least masculine thing you can do in football. Nothing against kickers, but give anybody a lecture on being masculine. Like, all right, kicker, with your special kicking shoe and your one bar and like,
yeah,
it just felt like, I'm not going to be lectured by a kicker. Go play a real position.
Yeah, it's just
not going to be lectured by a kicker. And also, by the way, if there are kickers in our listening audience, nothing against you, but I'm not going to be lectured by a kicker.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I just wanted to.
Not saying it would be any different if he was a linebacker. I'm just saying, didn't quite hit from a kicking standpoint. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think it's just one of those things I wanted to mention because when I saw this yesterday, it got me going because this is something that, hearing things like homemaker and vocation, it's a backwards way of thinking in my mind, and I wanted to say just about Harrison Butker this morning. I think he's a fool. So that's all that, but good luck with the Swifties was the original make or miss.
Yeah, that is a make.
And have fun.
And I understand. Look, there's people who feel like that is an important thing to say. And that's fine. Doesn't affect me one way or the other. But good luck on the internet, kid. Good luck.
So
do you think this one is going to have some leg? I think this is going to be. We were mad about it in May, and by the time he actually kicks off the NFL season, because I think he will, depending on the coin flip, might particularly kick off the NFL season. Now he's going to be at home. I hope it does. I don't think this has legs. I think this is we're mad about it in May, but if he misses a big kick, it's going to come back though.
If he was a average kicker for a team in a city on the West or East Coast, he'd be done today. But the fact that he is a kicker for Kansas City and went and gave a speech in most likely Middle America, he'll be fine.
Well, I don't think anybody should. And you would have to say something really, really bad. I guess I don't agree with him, but I don't think he should ever have his job in jeopardy. His job should be dependent on can he make field goals. Are you a productive member of society? Like, do you break the law? No. Can you kick field goals? Sure. You should be able to keep your job. I do not like the whole. I don't want to say cancel culture. I don't feel like you should be able to kick field goals and have those opinions if you want to.
Yeah,
but he misses a couple field goals.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not going to help.
I think there's a lot of people out there, Justin, who are really good at what they do and have been given passes for their opinions or their actions. But I'll just say this. I think, and this is just a hot take, but I think if he was Seattle's kicker, or if he was San Francisco's kicker, or if he was the Rams' kicker, he would still be their kicker. A statement would have been released by now.
That's a good point.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, a statement would definitely statement would have been released.
I mean, the Seahawks would have been like statement from Harrison, but
oh my goodness gracious.
100%.
As you said that, I went because again,
you know this.
I lived there.
Yes,
I worked there.
You know this.
Boy,
maybe that's why I have the opinions I have, because I'm right here in this PNW. But yeah, if we were in Seattle and this was the kicker that said this, I think we'd all be kind of really appalled. But I think again he's good. He's on a championship team. But all that to say, strongly disavow what he says, and I think he is a fool. So let's get on to next on Make or Miss.
Yeah, let's get on. Lighter topic?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Jared Goff got the last laugh of that trade.
All right, so he got $212 million.
I don't even think Stafford's made that much with the Rams.
170 guaranteed. Now, I would push back. Stafford's got a ring. Stafford got his ring, and obviously that's cementing Matt Stafford in the Hall of Fame, right? Doesn't that cement Matt Stafford in the Hall of Fame? When you look at
probably,
when you
but
look
it's
at his
close.
numbers and then you throw a Super Bowl championship on top of that, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Stafford got 4 years, 160. So Goff made $40 million more than Stafford.
But Stafford's got the ring.
Yeah,
He's got the ring. He's got the parade.
So would you rather have the ring or money?
Ring.
Yeah.
Ring.
But
If
you're
Jared
Goff, you played in a Super Bowl, Justin.
But Brenden, if we're talking about the difference of $160 million versus $200 million, right? Give me the ring. Now, if we're talking about the difference between 80,000 and 120,000, I'm like, I don't know, maybe give me the money.
So that could be the difference between a living like in a community or having a private island.
I know.
Like $50 million could probably buy you a private island. I'm just saying.
But so could 160 or whatever Matt Stafford made.
Dude, that would be
like Matt Stafford's doing fine. And I would say, truth serum, would you rather have stayed in Detroit and been part of this resurrection of the Lions or do what you did? I think
that's a good question.
I think he still says I do what I did because I got my ring and I got my Super Bowl. Now, if Jared Goff wins the Super Bowl this year, which is not impossible. They were right there last year. They had the 49ers on the brink. If Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, heck, go to a Super Bowl, then I think I can give you the maybe Jared Goff got the last laugh.
Is it sad that I look at Matt Stafford, and this is totally unfair. I'll say this first, and I'm going to preface this.
Also, Matt Stafford was done dirty for a long, long time by the Detroit Lions, but just terrible moves,
but again,
terrible personnel decisions, bad coaching hires over and over again, and he still showed up, put up big numbers.
Oh my gosh, that year
and carried that organization.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go that year that Calvin Johnson just went off. I mean, again, people forget about him, but Calvin Johnson was Justin Jefferson before Justin Jefferson. Megatron was Megatron, man. And, yeah, I mean, that year Stafford threw for 5 bills, five G's in 2011, right? So that's before it even started. But I'll say this, Justin, they went 4-12 that year.
I know.
So there's that. But no, is it sad, Justin, that now when I see Matt Stafford, like, I know he got his ring, but it's almost like, in a way, that Matt Stafford's, like, done and retired in my head. The Matt Stafford that we've seen since then has been hurt, has had his wife come at the team and have that whole drama. Remember when it's like, oh, yeah, Matt doesn't get along with the locker room because they're all too young for him.
Uh-huh.
Like, and I look at Matt as just kind of he's just like a dude who's there.
And he's been dealing with some injuries.
Like, remember when Baker was their guy there? I mean, I just feel like it's kind of been a rotating, like, they pushed in all their chips, lack of a better term, made a deal with the devil to get that ring.
And they got it. And
they did.
And that banner will fly forever. But it's also weird because it always feels like Sean McVay's like
that
one
too. Like, the
step
Rams
out
aren't serious to me.
They're not a serious team. That's a good way to put it. They do not feel like a serious team. It felt like they won their Super Bowl.
And we're like, we're good, guys. We got it. Which
and
is
anytime like a fan would maybe complain about it, just be like, banner. See that one?
Well, it's interesting because
there's a lot of other places around here. Because I don't know if you know the other team that shares this building with us. They have no banners.
It's true.
There's 0 up there.
Now,
how would that work? What if the Chargers won the Super Bowl? Like, do you designate sides?
Yeah. Just like the Clippers and Lakers had.
Yeah, but the Clippers never hang a banner either.
Well, you would assume if they did, it would have been sides.
The only teams that share, like you had the Giants and the Jets share a stadium, and the Jets won it in the 60s. But other than that,
it's different sports, but don't the Celtics and the Bruins share a TD Garden? Lots of titles between those two teams, baby.
Yeah, that's a lot of banners up there.
Banners.
Well, you got the Rangers and the Knicks.
Yeah, usually
Madison
hockey.
Square Garden.
Yeah.
Even though the Knicks haven't hung a banner since the 70s.
Before the Blazers, mind you. But yeah, no, that was definitely.
Do you think they had to negotiate that as part of the deal? If I'm Stan Kroenke, who owns SoFi Stadium, right? He has the keys. Do you think he's got a key?
Oh yeah.
Do you think it opens with the key, or you think?
No, probably like a handprint.
Wouldn't
dude.
it be hilarious if it was just
eye print, something like
an actual key, just open up the stadium. Do you think Stan Kroenke was like, yeah, Chargers, you can play here. Your banner section's not going to be as pronounced as ours.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Or your banner's going to be just a little bit smaller, if in fact you ever win one, and you never have as an organization, so I probably don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Would you be petty as an owner if you had because he owns the stadium?
Oh yeah.
But he does not own the Chargers.
I think it's a healthy relationship between those two because they all drive foot traffic to the same place, right? And I don't know if
So does Kroenke get all the beer sales from the Chargers games?
That's what I was going to say is someone no, there's got to be a percentage of it, and I'm sure it's something like the Rams get a cut, the Chargers pay rent, obviously. So, things along those lines. Who knows? And it's unique because it's only the Jets and Giants and only the Chargers and Rams. Now, again.
Except for, there's plenty of basketball hockey, right? Well, there's New York.
Those are
Boston,
same owner usually.
Philly.
Usually the same owner because usually the owner's like the Jazz right now. The guy who owns Jazz owns the hockey team. Usually because then Justin, you're right. You get all the revenue and you're like, absolutely, instead of having to parcel it out. But to that point, it's we didn't see any fall off from the Nuggets this year after they won the championship. They're still pretty hungry. And, the Rams, I think, kind of pushed all their chips in and kind of fell off. But when you own Justin, how cool do you think that is when you can take a step back if you're Kroenke? And we'll close on this.
Yeah.
And just you said the whole key aspect. Do you ever just kind of wherever his office is, I think he's real estate and other things. Probably overlooks the stadium somewhere, right? You got a high rise, maybe overlook,
he's probably got the best suite there.
Yeah.
Not probably, he definitely does. He built the stadium.
Yeah. Do you ever just kind of sit back and go, yeah, the nicest stadium on planet Earth, and it's mine. Planet Earth, Justin. Do you ever pinch yourself?
I've never watched a football game.
And he's not even the richest person in the world either.
Hold on a sec. I've never watched a football game at SoFi Stadium. I've been to a concert there. Jerry's World's better to me. Jerry's World was better, but again, never watched a football game at SoFi.
Need to check out a football game at Jerry's to say.
But I'm also going to Allegiant this summer for a concert. Is it even in the Stratus? It's basically Jerry's World and SoFi in terms of
It's a mini version of both of them. It's not quite as glitzy, but you're okay, this is still really cool. So yeah, I'd give it an 8 out of 10 if the others are 10s.
Jerry's World was so cool.
Yeah, I need to get to Jerry's World.
Jerry's World was so cool. All right, coming up, we got stuff we saw on the internet. We also have some golf talk coming up in hour number 3. Dave Coleman's going to be joining the show in hour number 3. So that's all on the way. But before we get to all that, I do want to tell you about Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath renovation experts. Maybe you want to make your house look like a football stadium. I bet DeBella could help you out, right? Because for the past few months, if you've been thinking about updating your home, well, it's the perfect season to make that happen. DeBella's going to do phenomenal work for you because, look, 15,000 5-star reviews on Google. That number continues to go up every single day. Angie's List, Home Advisor, all have top marks for their customer service. Plus, they've received not only accolades, but awards. And on top of that, well, how about no payments until 2025 on approved credit? That's right. DeBella has an incredible financing opportunity of no payments until 2025. So contact them today for a free, conveniently scheduled, no hassle estimate. So contact DeBella today and upgrade your roofing, siding, windows, and bath renovations. No payments till 2025 on approved credit. So start saving today. Xander Schauffele currently leading the PGA Championship. Very early in round one, followed by Jordan Spieth, Tony Finau. But Xander Schauffele sitting at 5 under. And we're going to have some golf talk coming up in hour number 3. Dave Coleman is going to be joining the program. Haven't had him on the show before. I know he's been on Rip City Drive, but I'm very excited to talk to him about the tournament, about what's going on with Rory. Am I ever going to get my Tiger resurgence? Probably not. And how good is Scottie Scheffler? Is like
insanely.
Like compared to like the greatest run that I have seen in my life is Tiger Woods back in 2000 when he got the Tiger Slam, and it felt like just he was so unbeatable. Like is Schauffele or is Scheffler in that discussion the closest thing we've seen to it since Tiger's prime back in the early 2000s. So we'll talk to Dave Coleman coming up in about 45 minutes. Update, speaking of golf, update on the story we talked about a month ago as Robert Glebinski. Now, you might not know who Robert Glebinski is, and you might not know who he is after this because he might be going to jail for a very long time. But Robert Glebinski was a warehouse assistant at Augusta National. Now, again, unlike the PGA Championship or the U.S. Open or the Open Championship, any of these majors, you can go online and buy a PGA Championship shirt. You could buy PGA Championship merch all you want. You could buy U.S. Open merch all you want. To be able to get official Augusta National Masters merch, you have to be on the grounds with a ticket at Augusta National. It's why it is so coveted. It is why they make more money on the merch sales than they make anywhere else. That's why they can do $1.50 sandwiches because you've already dropped $4,000 in the merch tent. Well, because of that.
How much would you drop on merch if you were just going
for
the sake of argument?
All right, so if I got to the Masters.
What you're trying to do.
Every year. I've got a calendar alert on my phone for when I need to enter next year's lottery.
Would you go with Kelly or would you fly solo?
I would not fly solo, but I have also
some golf buddies,
very good friends who I think would murder me in their sleep.
Fair,
but
fair.
Also,
no, I didn't know if it was.
But also, I have the love of my life who goes with me everywhere.
A super famous one of your friends want to come with you? No, would that not be his jam?
Nah, not his jam. He would.
But he could probably get in any time, right?
Anytime he wants.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so let's just say I get the tickets, and Kelly's like, I don't care what you're saying. I'm going. And I'm like, all right.
That's a tough
Sounds
spot.
Good. Sounds good. So you go to Augusta, right? And you get in the merch tent, and like all of your friends are probably like, dude, I will Venmo you, whatever. I need this. Because you're buying for everybody else there. Now, the other thing they do at Augusta is you go and you buy all the merch, right? And then after you purchase it, they ship it for you. They box it up, get your address, I'm sure a nice little fee, and you don't have to carry it on the plane ride home or pack it. They just ship it to your home. So you're probably buying merch for about 10 to 15 dudes in your life once anybody figures out that you're going to Augusta. So are you counting how much merch I would buy just for myself or total? Because friends would realize I'm going and they would be like, dude, get me a hat and a polo.
Okay. Okay, this is going to be fun. Don't tell me the amounts, but I kind of know mine vary and and I know the answer to me would be yes, because then I would turn around. And if I bought it all there, then can you go sell it or no?
You could.
Say you bought a ton of it, then I came back to Sherwood. I said, hey, guys, come over to Brendan's house. You want some master stuff. Is that illegal? Could they sue?
I don't believe it is illegal. It's your stuff.
Okay.
You can sell your own stuff.
So with that, Justin, I would max out a credit card. Hands down.
You think you could get a return on that?
I do. I think
you'd be one of those. See,
I'd max out my credit card. Now, granted, that's
as somebody that loves bourbon and Jordans, two things that the secondary market has ruined. I don't know if I could get into that deep, dark world. I don't know if I could look at myself. Now, you are a money guy. You are all about making a buck here and there, and I respect it. But, again, I love bourbon and I love Air Jordans, and the secondary market has ruined it for everybody. I don't know if I even want to get into the
Yeah,
secondary
if I
market
could, I mean,
world.
it depends. And if I could make a profit. If I could not make a profit, no way. But like, oh yeah, Justin, you're always looking for the next leg up.
I would be north of 4 figures, probably. Knowing like I'm never going to make it here again. And just like, it almost would be like Disneyland. You're like, it just doesn't feel like real life. And you're like, I'll worry about that when I get home. That being said, this guy Glebinski, for 10 years, or 13 years, a baker's dozen. For 13 years, he has been sneaking stuff out the back. Per the Associated Press, Glebinski formerly worked as a warehouse assistant at the famous golf course, and for nearly a decade, beginning in 2009, he took Masters merchandise from the warehouse to sell and transport them to Florida, where a third party would sell it online. Glebinski's scheme was actually lucrative. He made roughly $5 million from the sales. The items range from casual merchandise like T-shirts, hats, mugs, chairs, but apparently he flew a little too close to the sun. You know what the biggest ticket item they found out that Glebinski stole?
It was Arnold Palmer's jacket. Right?
Arnold Palmer's green jacket. What are you doing, you idiot? You didn't think that was going to come back to you? Also, things like Masters tickets from the 1930s.
How disrespectful to Arnold's legacy, man.
Well, it's just...
He's been gone for 8 years.
You
Justin.
see this story either A, in movies or you hear about him in documentaries all the time where something starts off, like nobody can just leave well enough alone, right? You start like, hey, a couple of boxes of T-shirts go missing. Nobody's going to notice. I take them down to Florida. I make about $5,000, right?
Of course it was Florida, too. Like,
well, it's just right down the road.
Fits, dude. Yeah. Just in Florida, it fits.
Well, and Florida is the golf capital of America, right? All the golfers.
That's true.
So it probably started with like, a couple boxes of T-shirts, maybe a couple, like a case of mugs.
But Justin,
like nobody's going to miss the 30-some coffee mugs that go missing. I don't know if they're doing inventory. It's just, that's a wear. Maybe it's back in the... You take Arnold Palmer's jacket, dude?
I think
you don't think they're going to find out? You've talked about this before. They've got the Pinkerton security there.
They do.
You didn't think they're going to find you, Glebinski? So, yeah,
Again,
good luck in prison.
As the joke goes, Justin, like, obviously it's much different, but this is, the same security agency that protected Abraham Lincoln. Like, that's how
I don't know if that's really us.
Is that a thing?
Point of pride on their record.
Oh, well,
they just kind of dropped the ball on that one, don't you think?
Well, I don't know if they were protecting him that day, but at least at the time, and then
too soon. I was too soon.
And then all throughout,
I don't know if I was because that ultimately led to, I believe, the Secret Service with presidential protection. But I don't know if I think it was your organization was the one in charge of Abe Lincoln. I don't know if I'd put that on there as like a resume.
Yeah, I think it was more during the war. Now, granted, it was shortly after, but yeah. All that to say, they're serious. And Justin, you might think, is a golf course really going to sue someone and put them in jail? Oh, they will. Justin,
it's the most powerful.
Like, just
it's
tell
one of the
them
more powerful entities they got in all of America.
This is like going up against the evil empire. You will not win. The Masters has so much money,
no chance
such good lawyers, and you're done. Like,
I've said this before, and I'll tell you in 30 seconds just exactly their power. There was a whole to-do because they did not have a female member, and there was a whole big, back in the early 2000s, a boycott of sponsors of the Masters. So the Masters said, okay, fine, no commercials. We'll run our tournament on TV for free. No commercials. So now you can't go after our sponsors because we don't have any sponsors. So good luck with that. That's how powerful they are. Good luck in prison, Glebinski. All right. Hour number 3 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA playoffs rolled on last night. Luka Doncic dropped a triple-double, pushing Oklahoma City to the brink of elimination as the Mavs take Game 5, 104-92. Boston has eliminated the Cleveland Cavaliers as they win Game 5, 113-98. So Boston heads to the Eastern Conference Finals. NFL schedules released yesterday. Season will open up on Thursday Night Football with the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Baltimore Ravens. More on the Seahawks schedule coming up just on the other side. And Xander Schauffele currently leads the PGA Championship in Valhalla. We'll talk more golf with PGA Pro David Coleman, who joins the show in 20 minutes. But hour number 3 of Rip City Mornings, it starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. As I mentioned in the update, Dave Coleman, golf analyst, going to be joining us in 20 minutes, talk us PGA Championship. We will have a RCM mailbag coming up in approximately 40-some minutes. NFL schedules are out. Every fan base is frustrated, but also optimistic at the same time. This is what's also great about the schedule release. That's why being a fan is the best, because you can look at the schedule and both think, boy, did the NFL just try to screw us here? But also go like, all right, what do you think? I like 11-6. 11-6 sounds about right. Is there anybody that looks at the schedule who's not the Carolina Panthers and goes like, we'll be lucky to get 6 wins?
Be a tough year for the Cardinals again, even with Marvin.
But Cardinals fans think they're going to win.
Yeah,
Kyler Murray's healthy. Didn't they get?
They got Marvin Harrison Jr., but again, one player I don't think is at their skill position is going to change their fortunes.
I'm just saying, think about it.
Yeah.
If you there's like 5 Cardinals fans in the world, by the way. I don't know of actually how many actual, real, true, diehard.
Yeah, I got you.
I've been the Cardinals fan since they were the Phoenix Cardinals, but
wait, they were the Phoenix Cardinals.
Oh yeah. They're the Phoenix Cardinals. They were the St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, that I knew. I did not know
then they
Phoenix.
became the Phoenix Cardinals,
Go
and then
figure.
they became the Arizona Cardinals because they're like, well, we got a whole state here.
Go
So
fig.
you can have both optimism that, I think we got 10 wins. And catch lightning in a bottle, you might get 11. Stay healthy, so you get all of that. Plus, boy, the NFL really tried to screw us there. But again, it's the lesson that we never learn as sports fans, which is the NFL is truly a season-to-season, month-to-month, week-to-week, day-to-day league. And the fortunes of a team can shift just like that. Justin Herbert breaks a finger. Oh, guess what? Jim Harbaugh's your new coach, and you're drafting in the top 10.
And
That's all it took.
I mean,
Justin Herbert's finger doesn't break. Brandon Staley still might have gotten fired.
Yeah, I think he did. Like, you're talking about that collapse last year, and then it was time. And honestly, Justin, it worked out for the best because for you and I, who have no skin in the game when it comes to the Chargers, objectively, I'm thrilled to see Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL. It's going to be fun to watch.
It is going to be fascinating. So let's take a look at the Seahawks schedule, shall we? I can't make heads or tails of the Seattle Seahawks coming up this season, right? I don't know what to think of Geno Smith. I don't know if he's going to last as a starting quarterback. How much patience is Mike McDonald, their new head coach, going to have in a guy like Geno Smith? Because we know that Pete Carroll had ultimate patience in Geno Smith because he was his guy. Before he was the starter, he was his handpicked backup. Pete Carroll always believed that Geno was going to be capable. And as we've talked about with Brady Henderson, Mike McDonald chose his words very carefully leading up into the draft. And when they realized they weren't going to be able to get any of the quarterbacks that maybe they looked at, all of a sudden then changed his tune and was like, yeah, Geno's, of course he's our guy. Who's the guy they got from Washington?
Sam Howell.
They got Sam Howell.
Mr. Big Numbers, Big Picks. That guy can throw the ball a lot.
As they call it, feast or famine.
Yeah, very Jameis Winston-esque.
Strikes and gutters, ups and downs.
Yeah, like risk it for biscuit. Like he can. He threw.
Can we throw one more in there?
What? But no, I think he threw for like 4,000 yards this year and 30 touchdowns, but he had like 18 picks, right? So, could he beat out Geno? Maybe.
I don't think he's gonna. I think
Commanders were not
Geno's
good.
probably penciled in as the starter, but I'm fascinated to see how long the leash is. How much patience does a brand new head coach? So let's take a look. Seahawks open up the season against Denver. Like the NFL is just joking right now. There's like goofing off, right? Because didn't we do this last year or 2 years ago? Like we did this 2 years ago, the Monday Night Football, but now Denver comes back without Russell Wilson and with the Seahawks with all their draft picks. Then go on the road to New England. New England is rebuilding. Then they get Miami at home. Miami is such a wild card team. Not like actual like wild card team. When you look at teams that they could go 13-4 and they could go 4-13. That's the Miami Dolphins to me. Now I don't think they're going to be as bad as going like 4-13, but the Miami Dolphins sitting there. So you got a fairly manageable first month of the season. And here's the other thing that the Seahawks get. Yeah, they go to New England and to Detroit, but you're home against Denver, you're home against Miami, you're home against New York, you're home against the San Francisco 49ers. So 4 of your first 6 games are going to be there at the friendly confines of Lumen Field. I don't know what to make of Miami. I don't know what to make of Atlanta. We mentioned the Rams. Don't know what to make of the Rams.
Yeah, it's the serious factor for me. That's like I summed it up that way last hour, Justin, and I just that division to me still seems like it's 49ers or bust. Could somebody surprise? Maybe, but you just like Justin start naming all the guys the Niners have, and I'll say why they won the division.
So I don't see any way, shape, or form that anybody else is going to challenge outside of injury. That anybody's going to challenge the 49ers, right? We just talked about the Rams. Like the Rams are just kind of meh. Seahawks, new coach. They're painting over murals. There's always going to be an awkward transition there. And then you've got the Arizona Cardinals, which they've got talent. And if Kyler Murray figures it out, but I don't put a lot of stock into that. Let's do my favorite game, shall we? Which is we go game by game. We go win, loss. And it's my favorite game. I love doing it. Here we go. Denver, week 1, at home, win. I'm going to give them a win. On the road to New England. I think that's a win. Who's New England's?
Jaden Daniel? Drake May,
You think Drake May starts week 2?
Or I think he starts, but did you see
because don't they have Zappy?
Yes, and they still have Mac Jones.
No, Mac Jones, Jacksonville.
They traded him away. Sorry, but no,
they still have Zappy.
They do. Did you see the quote though from Gerard Mayo when he he went viral over the weekend when he goes, Mac Jones has Mac Jones.
He's not. He's Jacksonville Jaguars backup.
Sorry, Drake May and Mac Jones. They're so dissimilar, aren't they? But no, they said Drake May has a lot to work on, and everyone's like, oh. We thought he was going to be ready to go. Like,
here's the thing you got to do with coaches. You got to think whenever they say quarterback's got a long way to go, just pencil him as the starter because it's when they start complimenting him and it's like, all right, I didn't even think about this. By the way, week 1, Denver in Seattle. Bo Nix can be their quarterback. Bo Nix will be their starter.
Yeah, he will be.
So Bo Nix has got to go back. Bo Nix has got to go back to Seattle.
How many Oregon fans make the journey up?
I think a good amount.
Is it like you think it'd be like Joey Mania or not quite? Not quite.
Nothing will be Joey Mania.
Gotcha.
Like I don't think we're gonna see the bookstore selling Bo Nix Denver Bronco jerseys. Maybe they will, but like
they sold Lions Harrington jerseys.
You went into the Duck store in 2002.
Yeah.
You would have thought it was a Lions store.
That's awesome.
There was Joey.
That's awesome.
There was a big bobblehead Joey there. there was you just buy Lions gear, not just Joey Harrington specific, Lions gear. Like half of the store was just like Detroit Lions stuff. So, also shout out to the Duck Store in Valley River Center. Love that place. So yeah, Bo Nix could potentially be making his first start back in Seattle. Oops. Didn't go so well last time. So they could be facing Bo Nix and Drake May back-to-back weeks to start off the season. Then they get Miami at home. That's a loss. They go to Detroit. I think that's a loss. New York Giants, who did not draft a quarterback, who are going to stick with Danny Dimes. I think they get that win. 49ers at home. That's a Thursday night game, too. Short week. It'd be interesting. I think that's a loss. At Atlanta, I don't know what to make of the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are one of those teams, right, where they could win 11 games next year. They could win 7. How does Kirk Cousins come back from the ankle or from the Achilles injury? Is Kirk Cousins an actual fit? Don't forget all the drama with the whole Michael Penix thing. They're going to lose to Buffalo. They could beat Los Angeles at home. They're not going to beat the 49ers on the road. At New York, coming up December 1st. What are the chances Aaron Rodgers makes it to that game?
Yeah, he's going to be healthy this year.
So, the whole year?
I think so. I do. I think Lady Luck going to be on his side because it was about as bad as you could get last year. Well, he ran out there with the American flag. This year, he will not run out with the American flag. I promise.
But they're starting again on Monday. Well, he's playing at San Francisco Monday night. They still start on a Monday night football.
I think it's Rodgers' revenge tour this year. I really am. We'll see. The Jets got some pieces, Justin. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he's too old.
You know who is really excited about Harrison Buckner's speech from 2 days ago?
Well, please tell me someone's Aaron Rodgers.
It's Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you why. Because everybody stopped hearing about what Aaron Rodgers had to say about Vladimir Putin.
Uh-huh. I did see that. Nice.
All of a sudden, the
Nice.
kicker for Kansas City got everybody's crosshairs, and Aaron Rodgers got at least a 2-week-long break.
Why is a United States media member interviewing him to begin with? I guess would be my question. Why are we talking to Putin to begin with?
Well, I was talking to Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers gave some thoughts.
Wasn't he interviewed by Tucker? Wasn't that where that
Yeah.
whole thing came from? Like, why? Why is that necessary?
Yeah, we don't.
I'm just saying, just asking
Brenden?
a question, Justin.
That's a dark end of the pool we don't want to swim in.
It's a fair question.
Not saying it's not. I'm saying I don't think we want to go to that pool. At New York, at Arizona, then they get Green Bay, Minnesota, both at home, and end the season on the road against Chicago, and then on the road against LA. Seahawks are going to be lucky to be 500 next year. I think very lucky to be 500. All right, we have got Dave Coleman is going to be joining us next. Talk some golf on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, early in round number one, Xander Schauffele, 6 under at Valhalla, leading the PGA Championship. Tony Finau right behind him at 4 under. Tiger Woods currently grinding it out. And once again, throwing it back in my face that it's just not going to happen, Myers. But joining us now, David Coleman, PGA Golf Pro, here to talk. First time on the show. Very excited, though, to have David on the show to talk about the PGA Championship, kind of what's going on with golf, and a lot of what's going on with this leaderboard. So, David, welcome to the show. Good morning. How we doing?
Good, man. How you doing? Appreciate you having me on this morning.
I appreciate you coming on the show because obviously there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about. First off, I want to start with this tournament and just end this course because, you know, David, we know all about Augusta and when the Masters is there. We know about the U.S. Open and the USGA and then the links in the Open Championship. What is it about Valhalla? What is it about this particular tournament that is going to be kind of the story of the course this weekend?
Well, I think it's a type golf course where, you know, you've got some really tough holes, but you've got a lot of opportunities, as you're seeing early on, to make some birdies out there, too. It's a Jack Nicklaus designed course, so if you look at all the courses Jack has designed, you know, in his architecture career, you know, he's made a lot of holes that you have coming into the greens. It's pretty demanding, but off the tee, there's a lot of room. So I think that's the one thing these players are going to see this week. You know, if you're a long hitter like you're seeing Xander, Tony Finau up at the top of the leaderboard, that's why a lot of people favored Rory McIlroy, who won there years ago. It's a course that really sets up for a long hitter because there's plenty of room to drive the ball. You've got a lot of good par fours, but you got some par fives where you can really score on, and you've got some short holes too where you can have some short irons into the green. So I think it's a great mix of holes that Jack Nicklaus made there at Valhalla, and I think it's one of these courses that with that creek or that river that winds through the property there, it's sort of similar to Muirfield Village, got a little bit of Medina in it as well. So I think it's a type golf course that, you know, these guys have kind of seen somewhat on tour, but I think it's got some deeper rough, that Kentucky bluegrass, which can really be tough in a major championship to hit out of.
All right, let's talk about Rory for a moment because obviously every time a major comes around, we start bringing up again the major drought. Which never mind that, you know, golf majors really, really hard to win. I feel like it's kind of more of a media creation, David, but I'm curious your thoughts as a player. Do you think that, you know, every single time it comes around, it's going to be a topic of conversation about when is Rory going to get another one? When is he going to get another major? Does that kind of creep into your head when you're one of these guys, or is that more of a media creation?
It's front and center, I think.
Yeah.
You know, McIlroy is one of the best players, you know, of this generation, especially since Tiger hasn't been, you know, the same player after all the injuries and all the things he's gone through with his life, you know, on and off the course. And McIlroy's really been one of the faces of golf, obviously, with all this controversy with the LIV Tour and everything. So there's no doubt. I mean, yeah, people are waiting for McIlroy to win another major because he said it, you know, recently in an interview. He's done everything but win a major the last 10 years. I mean, he's won the FedEx Cup. He's won, you know, all these big tournaments on the tour, but he hasn't come through at the 4 biggest events in golf. I mean, the 4 Super Bowls of golf. So let's face it. I mean, you know, for him to really come through in a major this weekend would be huge, not only for him, but for the game, especially with these uncertain times we're in with the PGA Tour and with LIV.
David Coleman, PGA Pro, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's talk about Scottie Scheffler right now because, you know, David, for a long, long time, and obviously, look, I am major, crazy, irrational Tiger Woods fan. All right, so I'll just throw that out there. And for a long, long time, there was always, much like in the NBA, where we tried to find the next Michael Jordan, it was like, who's going to be the next Tiger? Is it going to be Spieth? Is it going to be Rory? Is it, you know, is it going to be Justin Thomas? And you see these guys that would have kind of these hot couple of years, but could never do kind of what Tiger Woods was able to do because, well, the guy's unbelievably special. With what we are seeing right now with Scottie Scheffler, the way he's striking the golf ball, the way he is playing these past couple of months and really these past couple of years, is this the closest thing we've seen since crazy in his prime Tiger in golf with Scottie Scheffler, the way he plays?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's no doubt. I mean, the way Scheffler's been playing, you look at, his irons and his proximity to the hole. I mean, he hits the ball, so close to the hole so many times with long irons, with mid irons, with short irons. So his iron game is absolutely incredible. He drives the ball really accurately. And then I think the thing that we've seen this year that he's done a lot better is putt. I mean, I think last year his putting was way down statistically. It was near the bottom of the tour. Now he's more kind of near the average on tour, which shows how good his ball striking is. So there's no doubt. I mean, if he could ever putt like Tiger did, say, 20, 25 years ago, I mean, you got a guy right there that, could really go on a run that could be really historic. So I think there's no question that Scheffler, I think, too, the way he handles himself off the course is similar to Tiger. I think he's like the whole thing with his wife having a baby, they don't do social media. So it was completely, mysterious. Was he going to play in the PGA? Was he not? And then, he came in and did the interview. I almost compare him to, how Bill Belichick was with the Patriots. When Belichick would do the media, obviously, he's a better interview than Belichick was, but he downplays everything. And to me, that's the perfect attitude to have at that high of a level in professional golf.
David Coleman joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio, talking about the PGA Championship. Jordan Spieth, David, sitting at 2 under. He's in the top 5 right now. He's been another guy that's kind of been, up and down in majors over the last couple of years. When you think of Jordan Spieth's game, where it is right now, how it lines up for this course in this tournament, how do you like Jordan's chances over the next couple of days?
Well, I think the big thing it's going to come down to is, is his wrist healthy? Is his wrist 100%? That was something around the Masters. A lot of people ask, is his wrist healthy? Hitting the ball off the tee shouldn't be a problem, but it's when you start hitting irons, and you're hitting down into the ball, and you're trying to get the ball up in the air with these long irons like these guys are. You're really hitting down on and compressing it. Is he 100% healthy? So that's going to be the biggest question with Spieth. But we know around the greens, there's nobody as good in probably since Tiger was really dominant, and Mickelson, obviously, like Spieth. I mean, Spieth is phenomenal around the greens. He's got this innate ability to get the ball pretty much up and down from anywhere. His putting, I mean, especially that year he won all those big tournaments, his Spieth was making putts from just about everywhere. So I think there's no doubt if his wrist is either 100% or close to 100%, if he chips and putts great, and he hits the ball he's almost the opposite of Scheffler. If he can hit the ball decent and he putts great, he's got a great shot, to really do some damage and be in the hunt on Sunday.
All right, let's talk Live and specifically with Brooks Koepka, because obviously that was a huge part of the tournament last year when Live and the PGA, and I think it was before the merger. But it was always kind of a thing last summer that we talked about a ton, David, which was like what's going to happen with the Live guys. And it kind of once the Masters kind of let everybody in, then that kind of opened the door for him. And Brooks ends up winning the whole thing. Is this still a thing? Is this put on the back burner? Like what do you see like the current situation within PGA and Live? Is this just like a coexistence? What's going on in that situation right now?
Oh, it's a mess. Let's face it. So that's the framework agreement last summer was just a framework agreement. They're not merged yet. So to me, they're still trying to work things out. We saw John Rahm at the end of last year go to Live. Tyrrell Hatton, a few other guys, have gone, like Adrian Meronk. Lucas Herbert went as well to Live. Live's taken a lot of guys at this point. Now, they've taken a lot of, say, B+, A- type guys that are good. Rahm obviously moves the needle. Koepka moves the needle. Mickelson still does to an extent, so I think they've taken some household names. But I think they've got to figure out, the PGA Tour and Live have got to figure out some way where they can have guys be able to play, obviously in the PGA Tour events. And, if they're going to play in this team golf stuff, they've got to figure out a way where they can do this. And I think, to me, at the end of the day, they have to say they got to sacrifice something. The PGA Tour, I think, wants to penalize the guys who want to come back. I think, the problem is Live needs the PGA Tour because the guys on Live don't get the world ranking points to play in the majors. So they have to go overseas and play in Asia, play in all these obscure events to get world ranking points. And there's a lot of guys on Live, guys like Andy Ogletree who's playing this week, some of these younger guys that came out of college that never have played on the PGA Tour need to live for the money, and they have to go chase all this stuff in other parts of the world. So it's a very convoluted thing. I think at the end of the day, it's almost a case-by-case scenario. If you went through each, they really want to come back. Who sued the PGA Tour? There's so many aspects to it. It's not even about golf anymore. It's about everything but golf. And the sad thing is walking down the sport, and I think a lot of people have lost interest in it because of it.
David Coleman, PGA Pro, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Speaking of live, and I mentioned a moment ago, you talked about Brooks Koepka, defending champion coming in, and he's another guy like you talked about with Spieth. Like, it always just kind of depends on health, and you know, you saw in that first Netflix series, The Full Swing, that first time where you really saw Brooks with the injuries that are piling up, kind of got a crisis of confidence, and now it feels like 100% healthy, he's going to be in the mix in nearly every single major. He's the defending champ. And again, I continue to keep asking about course setup because I do think it matters a ton. But what do you see with Brooks Koepka defending the championship this weekend?
Oh, I think he's got a great chance to win this week. I think the one thing about Koepka is, you know, he gets himself up more and more for the majors every year because I think that's part of the reason he went to live, because I think he really wants to focus entirely on the majors. He doesn't want to play in these other, you know, events that obviously don't mean as much to him. And I think, to me, the golf course it's a big golf course that really sets up good for him. And, you know, he can really get up, you know, on a lot of these holes and just grip it and rip it. And I think he's a guy that likes the tougher type setup. He has an underrated short game. I think, you know, switching putters before the Masters, I think he's gotten comfortable with that new putter, that mallet type putter. And I think there's no doubt he's going to be a factor, you know, coming into the weekend there at Valhalla.
David Coleman, PGA Pro, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. One last thing before we let you go, David. I really appreciate the time. This is fantastic stuff. If you kind of look at the field, and obviously there are some big names at the top with Schauffele and Spieth, and we talked about Koepka and Rory. What's maybe a name that people should be keeping an eye out for the way they've been playing, the way they set up for this golf course? Obviously, I don't know if there's going to be another Michael Block type run again this year, but is there maybe a chance of somebody that's flying under the radar that you maybe look to have a big weekend?
Yeah, I think, to me, I look at a lot of these Canadian players that have been playing really good this year. You know, the President's Cup is in Montreal in the fall, and, you know, they really want to get on that international team. There's a handful of guys. You know, Taylor Pendrith won in Dallas a couple weeks ago. We know how good of a ball striker Corey Connors is. I think Mackenzie Hughes should have been on the President's Cup team a couple years ago. You look at Nick Taylor winning in Phoenix this year. Adam Hadwin, who actually played his college golf at Louisville. You know, you look at that group of guys. All those guys really have a lot of motivation to play on that President's Cup team in Canada. And I think they're kind of leading this charge of Canadian players that have come down, played their college golf in the States, and they're really showing that they can play at a big-time level. And I think one of the Canadians would be a good dark horse pick because they all hit it long. A lot of these guys are hockey players growing up, so the same kind of motion with a golf swing. So I think there's no doubt that they definitely can do well this week at Valhalla, and I think maybe be an outside factor, maybe have an outside shot to win it.
David Coleman, PGA Pro. Hey, David, thanks so much for your time. Fantastic information, great stuff. And you know what? Now that we've had you on the show, we look forward to getting you back on again sometime soon.
You got it, man. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, and you have a good day and enjoy the golf.
There we go. There's David Coleman. A lot of great stuff there, but because I'm obsessed with kind of course setup is one of the things that, I mean, I don't know if people quite understand like just how much that kind of matters at the PGA, right? Because think about the four majors. If you think about the four majors, the Masters is the Masters. It's Augusta. It's not only like the same course, and yeah, they'll make improvements and they'll make some changes, and obviously there was the whole tiger proofing aspect of it back in the 2000s. Well, they're going to lengthen it. That's still Augusta National. That's still rolling hills. It's still undulated fairways. It's still in fast greens, swirling winds. It's the same. And we talk about, you know, Brenden, and I've talked to you about this a ton. Like, course knowledge at Augusta is as important as your ball striking ability. Then you go to the U.S. Open, right? U.S. Open, it's always going to have deep rough. It's always going to have tight fairways. It's always going to have absurdly long par threes. It's going to have just all of the challenges, and it's can you play down the middle? Can you avoid collapse? And then you go to the British Open or the Open Championship, right? That's links golf. Now, wind is a factor. Weather is going to be a factor. Course conditions are always a thing. PGA Championship, depending on where they play it, there's not a lot of consistency. Sometimes it's a tight course, like it was at the Country Club. That might have even been the U.S. Open. And then sometimes, and apparently this one, the big, long drive guys, this is their course. Also, Tiger's won over. Really struggling with Tiger on this one. Also, I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier because this is the first major now we see with the Tiger Woods Sunday red and not rocking the swoosh. I love Tiger Woods, Brenden. I do. Outside of Michael Jordan and maybe Ken Griffey Jr., maybe my favorite athlete of all time. I love Tiger Woods. I will defend Tiger. Have you been to the Sunday Red website and seen what Tiger Woods is trying to get? And people are probably buying it. $85 polos, dude. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what Tiger's thinking. Just getting greedy.
I apologize, Justin. I'm a little distracted. Some breaking news that came down just at the end of it.
Okay. Hit me.
We want to guess who's on the cover of the college football video game?
Oh, okay. So I thought they were doing
3 players are on the cover.
Okay, 3 players.
And they dropped when it's releasing, so I'm getting real excited.
Okay. Fantastic. Let me try to play this guessing game right off the top of my head. I do not have Twitter up, so if I were to guess, all right, so 3 regional covers, right?
No, so it's just one cover. All 3 players are on it. There's a deluxe game that's kind of players running down the tunnel and a little bit less specific. But for every Joe out there that's going to buy it, 3 players are on the cover.
All right. Jalen Milroe.
Negative. Shot and miss.
Jalen Milroe's not on the cover.
Let's play Battleship. Miss.
That's a miss. Ewers?
Yes.
All
Wayne
right.
Ewers is 1. Okay. Hit.
Texas.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
We've hit the Battleship.
A lot of Texas. Travis Hunter.
Bingo.
Boom. Travis Hunter.
Okay. Hit. We got one more hit. You won't get this one because I didn't even get this one. This is hard. This one kind of surprises me a little bit.
So you got Texas, and you've got Colorado. Where else? Who else am I missing here? Is it quarterback?
Running back.
A running back?
I know, right? You're like, whoa, and a running back we really haven't heard of.
Michigan?
Donovan Edwards from Michigan.
Michigan running back, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's not Blake Corum, right?
So I would say you got to have a Michigan player on there, defending champs, right?
Fair.
Also, is Michigan the weirdest defending championship team in college football?
Yes.
Because of 3 things. A, your coach just left.
Bye.
B, the Big Ten is
way different.
Is going to look very, very, very different.
Different quarterback, different running back, lost pretty much everybody on the team.
And it's the last of the Final Four era and heading into the 12-team playoff era. But, yeah.
They strike me
because once the season was over, right, Harbaugh leaves, and then the rest of us are like, well, your team's like, where the hell are we going to play?
It's true.
It's
true. It's so true.
All the teams that are going to new conferences are all just looking forward to the next year. And to be fair, all the other conferences that are having new teams coming in are all like, there was no way to just kind of sit in it this last year. It was always like, well, what's going to happen next year? So there you go. So Edwards, Ewers, that's pretty good. I got 3 out of 4.
The question is,
how do you not Jalen Milroe?
We'll answer this during the mailbag. Should I or will I pay more to get the 3-day early access to this and get it 3 days for the general public? We may talk about it in mailbag.
Mailbag coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up the big show. We do that the same way each and every day with the RCM mailbag. Random questions, any subject, any topic. Nothing is off limits. I repeat, for effectiveness, nothing is off limits, and I will not duck the tough questions. Unless Brenden asks me about Harrison Buckner again. I don't want to talk about that guy anymore. Let's get into the RCM mailbag.
That's okay, Justin. I did deserve that. So
We don't know more about Harrison Buckner.
That is entirely fair. But you know what? Hey, I am glad I got it out there in the universe. It is on record, baby, how I feel about that man. Be that as it may, we're going to introduce a new segment on the mailbag today. A segment within a segment, Justin.
Okay.
We're going to play this game called Justin Spends Brendan's Money.
Yeah.
So
let's do that.
We're going to talk a little bit about the college football video game here.
All right, this video game you have been obsessed with for
waiting 10 years, Justin.
Waiting 10 years, but you've been like more so the last couple of months when it became official that it was coming back, because once the NIL stuff happened, everyone's like, "Oh, it's coming back," and then it didn't come back, and they're like, "It's never going to come back." And then it's like, "All right, now it is. It's officially coming back." And you have been just giddy and gaga over this.
I don't deny it. I know there are some out there that are very excited for it as well. And, I saw something, Justin.
I get it.
Like 15,000 players have opted in now. Remember when they said nobody would opt in?
Well, I don't believe it. I thought it was the dumbest thing ever that Arch Manning didn't opt in.
Oh, like the only one?
He's like, what do you think? Like, did you think like you're going to hold out and they're going to give you a better deal? It's like, it's $600 in the game.
That's it, dude.
Call it a day.
Yeah. So we got the official release date, and I believe it comes out now on July 19th.
Okay.
Is when it comes out. So thankfully that's a Friday. Justin will see me on Monday. Hopefully things will be on the up and up. And
you'll be like bags under your
Oh,
eyes.
I'm sure. I'll be like,
unshaven.
I've won my 3rd championship with the Beavers. And I told my Brogan, the first thing I'm doing is moving my Beavers into the SEC.
They're going to the SEC.
Or the Big Ten. You can move them into conferences.
So you see they're going to the Big 12?
In yeah, hey, it could grease the wheels, Justin.
It's not as
not
crazy
bad
as
news.
it sounds. It's not a bad move.
No, it's not bad
It's
news.
like, hey,
it's
women's gymnastics is tumbling around, going like, hey, you guys.
you guys
football
want to
team?
bring in anything else? No, that's you know what that is, Justin. That's having an Olympian on your roster.
Yeah, what's
Jade Carey is.
Yeah,
the best Olympian.
Is she going to the Olympics
again? Yeah, for sure.
So in Paris, she'll be there.
Yeah.
Part of the okay.
Oh yeah, Jade Carey's legit. So it's like, oh yeah, of course, all these Big 12 coaches want the Olympian in their league.
Got it.
So maybe that'll grease the wheels. But anyway, back to the money part.
Yes.
So Justin, it will be $69.99, which holds up with the price of regular games.
But that's how much video games cost?
Yeah,
$70?
Yeah, about $70 now.
Okay.
Now, I'm asking you, for spending my money,
Mm-hmm.
it is $99.99 to get the deluxe version, and you get access 3 days earlier. Worth it to get 3 extra days for $30.
Other than the 3 days, what else do you get? That can't just be it, right?
A whole bunch of stuff here. Let's see. You get a whole bunch of points, team packs, just...
Okay, I don't know what any of that is.
Basically game, like, it'll help you...
Bells and whistles,
yes,
essentially.
Little things that will make your, like, my career journey better and stuff, like points and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say that would put you Wednesday...
That worries me for the show.
Away from concentrating on anything to do with this show. And I would probably lose you for that Thursday and that Friday. So I would say, for the sake of the show, no. But whatever, go for it. You've been waiting for this for 10 years. What's $30?
Well, and here's
if I were to, and again, I should not be the one handing out financial advice, but I would say, unless it's a money grab from EA Sports, where they're like, hey, another $30, like you go to the movies, and again, they might not do this anymore because it's been in the wild, but like you order a medium soda, and they're like for 50 cents more,
exactly,
and it's like, all right, so it's a money grab.
Well, and here's the true key, and then we'll get into the rest of the mailbag. The last of Justin spending Brendan's money.
Yeah,
they're really trying to be like, are you sure? They have bundled Madden and college football together.
Okay,
you get both games, deluxe. 150.
Were you going to buy Madden regardless?
Yeah.
Then do it.
Yeah. I'm like,
Then
yeah.
what are we waiting for?
Probably.
That doesn't make any sense why it would even be a question.
I mean, I buy it every year. I mean,
If you were going to buy it regardless, then
so-
yeah.
Okay, well, then Justin has...
You're saving $50.
Justin has spent Brendan's money,
Boom.
folks. Here we go. So, yes, we will have to get that pre-ordered at sometime soon. So, we'll check on me in July. But let's go ahead and open up the mailbag itself. Justin, I'm curious your thoughts on this. Where are you on slow drivers? I had a moment yesterday where 2-lane road, Highway 99, 55.
Got it.
Right? So, naturally, I expect some people might go 55, right? Maybe a little bit less.
Mm-hmm.
Both lanes were going 40.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. No.
And now, granted, this was only about a stretch of a mile, but it drove me absolutely batty yesterday. And I was like, where am I the only one that gets upset about slow drivers? Am I alone?
No, especially when there is a regular lane for you. And slow drivers in the left lane, I think everybody's like, what are we doing? Like, get your head out of your you-know-what. More than slow drivers, indecisive drivers drive
that's
me
a good
nuts.
one, too.
Now, again, I should have some sympathy if you are driving around. Portland, if you don't know anything about Portland, has got to be an awful place to try to drive. You take one wrong turn, you're on a bridge, and you're like, I don't know where I'm at anymore. And now I'm committed to this bridge. There's you get on the wrong exit on 205, and you're just like, well, I guess I'm going here now. So I get it if you don't know anything about Portland, and there's off ramps, and it looks like it's residential, but it's actually the only way to get to another bridge. So I get it. But the indecisive drivers who don't know where, am I turning? Am I not? Am I turning? Like that probably frustrates me to no end. Probably more than slow drivers is the indecisive driver.
How do you feel about people who drive with their headphones or AirPods in? I learned it's not illegal in Oregon, but it's illegal other places.
See,
I see that more often.
When I was growing up, it was always, it's illegal. You can't have your headphones in. But now it shouldn't be illegal because you can't talk on your phone but that's a hands-free device.
Yeah, I see a lot of people with earbuds in, and it's like, I know it's illegal in California, Washington.
That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, so yes.
Doesn't bother me at all.
Like, would you do it, I guess, is what
No, I got a
stereo.
I got Bluetooth. I got Bluetooth for a reason. All right, that's going to do it. I also live in headphones 3 hours a day, so it's like I don't really get all excited about putting them back in. All right, that's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to David Coleman, PGA Pro, joined us earlier in the third hour. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Thursday. We got a fancy coffee Friday tomorrow morning, 620 Rip City Radio.